Alright, we are in section I, row 3, lot 42 of Map Plus Cemetery. Coming up to the gravesite of one Irving Milberg, born in 1903 in New York and dying on September 29th of 1938 in Marquette, Michigan, over in the prison up there. Irving Milberg grew up in Brooklyn with several other Purple Gang members here in Detroit. He came to Detroit in late 1923 to fight in the Oakland Sugar House War. Acquitted in the extortion trial resulting from the Cleaners and Dyers War, he returned to Detroit in 1931 after serving time in Leavenworth, convicted as being a participant in the infamous Collingwood Manor Massacre in 1931. He, with two others, were sentenced to life in prison. While in prison in September 1938, he underwent an operation for an intestinal obstruction peritonitis. For an intestinal obstruction. Later on, peritonitis set in and he died on September 29th. And one thing I would like to mention over here is fellow Purple Gang member Charles Auerbach. He was, not much is known about him, but he died on May 19th of 1935. And one thing I would like to mention about Charles is that he was pretty much like the advisor and weapons armorer of the Purple Gang in Detroit. So it's kind of interesting that he's only buried 2 spaces away from Irving Milberg, who is right there. So, section B, row 4, lot 81, grave 813C. We're coming up to the gravesite of one Samuel Drapkin, born in 1909 in Detroit, it looks like, and died August 11th of 1965. He was known throughout Detroit's purple Jewish underworld as leading a charmed life, quote. End quote, end quote. He survived a total of 9 gunshot wounds in relation to a machine gun attack along Oakland Avenue in July of 1927. Also survived another murder attempt in February of 1932, when he became one of the very small handful of gangland types to survive a one-way ride. When in the hospital after the latest attempt, he was noted to have said, when questioned by police to who shot him, his reply was simply, "Santa Claus shot me." So not much else is known about him other than what I could find out on Find a Grave, which is where I got his biographical information. So, and here he is, and if you notice, right on top of the grave marker are rocks. Now, rocks usually symbolize respect in Jewish cemeteries. I'm not too sure on how they do that, but nonetheless, they do. So, alright, and here we are over in section A, row 1, lot 27, grave 479A. We are coming up to the gravesite of one Irving Shapiro, born in 1904 in Detroit and dying on July 27th of 1929. Now, one thing before I get started with the biography is that on the marker it says 1906, but my records show he was born in 1904. Sometimes there's inaccuracy with the official records to what it says on the grave marker. Sometimes this is done to deter people from finding the grave sites. Anyways, to begin, Irving was one of the most feared Purple Gang members. Was one of the gang members acquitted of extortion in the trial that followed from the Cleaners and Dyers War of 1928. Was eventually taken for a ride and killed over a kidnapping he masterminded. Let's see here. His beaten and bullet-riddled body was eventually dumped in front of 24-3 Taylor Street in Detroit, which is located off of Claremont Street and Linwood Avenue, over on the east side, I believe. A stone throws away from Sacred Heart Seminary College, over there on the east side. Now, this is pretty much all the information I have on Irving, but so that's pretty much it with that. And as you can see here, as I pan along here in the cemetery is situated sort of in a residential area. Now, it's off. Now, Mapla Cemetery is located off of Woodward Avenue in Ferndale. So that's pretty much it, and this pretty much concludes my day over here. I had a pretty successful day, and I only had a few people to find. Most of it was walking, which I could have done a little bit of walking anyways. But anyways, so that concludes that.